Good afternoon. Welcome to the OpenDay session today with the brilliant Rosario, an alumni from the first edition of our Digital Product Management Masters, and also Robin Wenninger, who is the Program Director and also the Managing Director in the Leadership and Technology Company. We'll start with a brief introduction on our school, some nice pictures on the campus and whatnot, a brief on the methodology, and then we'll move on to Rosario, who will explain to us her experience with the school and life after studies. And Robin will take it from there, discussing the program itself and any questions you might have. Just to note that there's a chat section where you could type in your questions and I will be reading them out and we'll answer them momentarily. All right, once again, thank you for joining and let's start. To start off, this is just a small glimpse of our campus. It doesn't do it justice, but we have 9 classrooms available, 2 events rooms and several lounge areas spread out. But most importantly, we have different coffee stations available for whoever is keen on it. As for the methodology, now we pride ourselves with a blended but sort of intensive kind of bootcamp methodology that is very heavy on project-based learning. So you'll basically be learning everything by momentarily implementing it. And just a small introduction on the digital product management itself. It's a 4-month program, 16 weeks in total. And within that, there will be 1 live streamed class on Thursdays, every Thursday. And within the course, there's 5 modules included. Each module will be 3 weeks long and with a on-campus week at the end of the program. This year, it will be in March 15th, which also includes a project presentation. I'll let Robin discuss this further. For the format, as we said, it's 100% online. So at the beginning of the program, you will receive all the material included within the course, and you will be able to tackle this content at your own pace, at your own time, with no restrictions. And we've done that deliberately. We've created a curriculum that offers this flexibility for our 90% student community that are either entrepreneurs or have full-time day jobs to accommodate in liaison with completing this program. Now, moving on to the events and webinars. So it's a pretty fruitful program with different webinars, different events happening several times per month. Obviously, it's all part of the program itself, so it's free of charge and you'll have access to everything we have to offer at the time. And lastly, the Barcelona week. Now, as I said earlier, this week will be on campus in Barcelona. I'd like to emphasize that this is not mandatory. So if you're unable to travel or prefer not to travel, it's okay, because everything will be streamed for you to access from wherever you are. But we always recommend this week because it has several events included within that, including a presentation of your project, but also meeting the professors, the student community, and different site visits to the different startups here in Barcelona, in addition to a hiring day, a day where recruiters or headhunters will be there to assist you in fixing up your CV and fixing up your approach to tackle this unique position that is digital product management. And these are our alumni. Now, what's really nice about our program and our school is that it's a really tight net. So alumni are always in contact with each other during the program, but also afterwards. So there's a very big community that you could always be in contact with during your studies and afterwards. So lastly, welcome to this open day, and we'll move on right now to Rosario, who will share her experience with us and life after studies. Rosario, please go ahead.
Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. My name is Rosario. I'm originally from Argentina, but I'm living in Spain. And I had the wonderful opportunity to join Nuclio Digital School on this Masters of Digital Product Management that I will never regret, to be honest. Don't worry if you don't know anything about the digital world or marketing itself or sales strategy. You'll learn everything you need. That's my experience. I started out in March at a zero level of knowledge of Agile, Scrum. I was barely reading the news about new startups and tech companies. And after 4 months, I feel that I already belong to the industry for years. It's fascinating how much you can take if you're smart and if you dedicate the time that it requires. To me, all the webinars that I've been given are very useful. Some of them are a little long, but don't give up. The best comes at the end. At the end, everything falls into place and it all makes sense. And what I treasure the most about this program is the possibility of accompanying it with maybe a personal project, or even better, a group project, or a real case that you're going through, maybe in your current job, or an idea that you have to launch into the market. So the course will give you the theory first, and then the tools that you need to put everything in order and to map it out like a roadmap. It's gonna be like your compass, okay? So maybe if you have a crazy idea, or I don't know, a wish to launch something or invent something, first of all, you're gonna be a little disappointed because it's not the idea that matters, it's the problem that you wanna tackle what matters. So you're gonna give it a lot more thought, and if you have the chance and the time and the good teamwork and the drive and the will to do it, try to apply every like model or canvas or exercise that in the webinars you are given, because that will lead you to an answer, to have idea, or to judge the idea that you had in mind, if it's feasible or not. In my personal experience, I had a great work group that we set responsibly 1 hour a week to get together and discuss and work it out. And we were committed to watch the webinars that we needed to have an argument to talk about, and to have like a background or more knowledge, applying it to the idea or the case that we were working on. So it's really amazing how it all adds up, and after 4 months you got a product or at least you got all the steps that you need to do to have one, or maybe all the steps that you need to do to present to your boss in your current job, in your company, or in a job that you want to apply for, to come up to a solution or a result. And it's very enjoyable. It's like all the things that you normally see or deal with in a daily basis, like common sense things that you put down into paper and you map them out. So you put them in a better order to make it more effective. That was my sensation of the Masters of Digital Product Management. What can I tell you? Nowadays, like, majority of the things are digital. It's a challenge. It requires a lot of things to, a lot of details to bear in mind. And the best way to tackle them all is to start with the simple things and go step by step. Again, it's the school will give you all the theory that you need, all the experience from the teachers that are incredible, because they're human beings like you and me and everyone, but has been through this already, and they are very approachable, and they can tell you exactly how it is in real life. So it's not everything on a book or anything. Watching the videos will help you have an idea of what happens really in the real world, in the companies and everything, and then you can adapt that to your situation or your idea of business. And the teachers, they are amazing, because they've been through a lot of that, and they can tell exactly what they've been through. And it's very it's a very nice and realistic approach that you can have at the time of making your own decision, if you want to work for this, if you want to launch a product or not, if you want to create a company or not, or if you want to join a project or not. It gives you a lot of tools to decide. And there are a couple of cool techniques that you can actually apply in something else that is not a digital product. Maybe you're gonna learn how to think differently, new models of thinking about problems and providing solutions, and brainstorming and boosting your creativity. That always helps. And then put everything down in paper, as I say it, and come up with a MVP, that's called a minimum viable product. And the whole journey is very enriching. So go for it. I just want to encourage to take it, and to take the plunge, take these masters, but profit from it and dedicate some time, because otherwise, if you leave it for the end, leave it for the end, it's a lot of material that is gonna accumulate at the back, and you will never have time to go it through all at once. So it's wisely time planned in time, and try to respect the blocks, and watch the videos and do the activities. That's my advice.
Thank you so much, Rosario, for that. For our attendants, if you have any questions for Rosario, please do let us know. I'll read them out loud. We'll just take a couple of minutes before we move to the man of the hour, Robin Winninger. Couple of minutes more.
Not sure if I'm the man of the hour. At least I'm human. I have learned from Rosario. So all these nice words.
He's the man. He's like the best coach that you can have. So down to earth, and whatever idea you have, you can consult with the oracle.
Absolutely, that's really
the
great.
Oracle, no, a human oracle. I think I like where this is going.
All right then, so I guess we don't have any more questions. I'll leave the floor to the Managing Director of the Global Institute of Leadership and Technology, and also the Program Director of our Digital Product Management Program, Robin Winninger. Thank you, Rosario.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much. Yeah, good evening or good morning, whatever time zone you're in. That's always the fun part, which I at least find one of the most exciting things of this program, is that we have so many people from so many different countries and time zones and cultural backgrounds and cultural different ideas. So it's always also fun for me. And I also always learn something, especially when it comes to product ideas in markets that I've never been doing anything before. So when it comes to like this whole product management thing, I actually like to always think of like a problem solving course. So I think you can't go wrong with a course in that domain, because in the end, yes, you will certainly be a great product manager, but you will also be a fantastic problem solver for everything that is attaching into your life. And that makes it so interesting for me also as a discipline. And instead of now just talking about the program and what we're going to do, I just opening up some slides, and I do just like a mini masterclass on what product management is all about, and then also mapping this back to the course. And I think that's the easiest way to understand if this is the right choice for you, or if you find value in that. And the first thing that I think you should be aware of when you start this course, and Rosario mentioned that shortly, is you will get comfortable with being uncomfortable, because product management is, even if you do it since years, and if you have seen, or if you feel that you have seen everything, every time it's different. And every time you start with nothing, and literally every single day you're doing something as a product manager, it's a day where you think, I have no idea what I'm actually doing, but let's see if I can figure it out. And I think this part of being uncomfortable and getting comfortable with being uncomfortable is one of the skills that we try to teach as best as possible in this course as well. But let's just look into that. So I am just starting my screen here. So can you just confirm that you can see, or Rosario, if you can just shake your head, then I know that you can see my slides.
All right, the options.
Do you see that?
I can see it, Robin.
Okay, fantastic. So product management and Van Gogh. So probably that's a connection that is not that easy to make, but it's actually quite easy, because if you look into this self-portrait, in this case from Van Gogh, that's one that's hanging in Paris, if you're interested in seeing it live. When you think about this picture, you are seeing a picture that is unbelievably expensive. But if you look into it from what it actually is, it's a canvas with color on it, or with paint on it. So putting these into like the simple components, it's probably worth a couple of euros or dollars, whatever currency you want to take here. Why are people paying so much for that? And the reason for that is the perceived value of the picture. So it's not the color, it's not the canvas, it's not the frame, it's the art that you are buying that makes this picture valuable, or this painting valuable. And this is completely different from a product. And one of the most important things to understand when it comes to product management is that the product is not the value, and that the product is not the problem. And this is really, really important. And thanks, Rosario, for already mentioning that, because that's what we see so often, not just from startups, but also from established companies. They develop cool products and then think, oh, why the hell nobody wants to have this? And the reason is because the product doesn't create value, or at least it doesn't create a perceived value. What it is, we will talk in a second about it. But this is the first, I think, fundamental important thing to know, or to embrace when you are a product manager, is to distinguish between your product and the value that you're delivering. And Rosario is smiling a little bit. I can see that, because she knows the pain of getting from a product to a value proposition, and that's a hard part, and it's so much fun. And that's why I also love to work with all groups that we have in this course to figure that out, because even I don't know it, because it's something that you need to figure out. It's a process. And this is basically the part that we're tackling first also in this program, is to find your product. So what is actually the product that you are going to bring to life, to market? And if you now think, I don't even have an idea, I don't even have a problem in mind, what I can work on, no worries. You will find so many problems in this course, and you will find so many ideas that you can work on, that by the end you will say like, oh, which one should I choose and which way should I go? And this is basically the beginning of the course. So we start with finding a product by finding a problem. And the way that it works normally in product management is by going through this kind of process. So this is a product life cycle. It basically starts at the bottom of being not existing. So it's basically nothing. And in the end, we have some kind of maturity. So an established company, best case, or an established product. And when I'm talking here about product and companies, or something, this is something that is important for you. So this course prepares you either to be an entrepreneur, so start your own company with your product, but it also prepares you to manage a product in an organization. It doesn't matter if it's smaller or larger, because we're looking really holistically at that. And it doesn't make so much sense to distinguish between an entrepreneurial approach or a corporate approach to product management. We are just giving you the whole complete picture. And the whole complete picture is basically on that. So this is the slide that probably sums up the program in total, right? Rosario, would you agree that this is the whole program, but it's probably a little bit more complicated from the program perspective. So starting with the first part here, this is basically what we're covering in the first block and in the second block, is to say like, hey, how do we actually find a problem and how can we find a solution for that? And this is the tricky part, because that's where your whole capacity will go in. That's where you will feel really uncomfortable whole time, where you need to figure out what's going on, and you will constantly challenge yourself, because what's obvious in the beginning becomes not so obvious in the end. And that's the fun part. That's actually the most fun part of product management, is to work on problems and finding the according solutions for an according group of people. So your market. And this is probably the second most important thing as being a product manager, is to know who actually has this problem and how are you going to solve it. And this quite often also in the practical application of these methodologies is forgotten. So people jump from solution to solution, and the solutions are great. They look fantastic. They're shiny, but actually they have no idea who actually needs that. And this is also really, really important to look at. Then the second part of this life cycle is a so-called product market fit. So that's where we actually develop the product. Before that, we only work with prototypes and the so-called MVP. I don't want to talk too much about this right now, but this is part of what we're covering in the course. But the second part is all about bringing your product to the market. So basically building a business model behind that. And again, we're distinguishing here not between a startup approach and a corporate approach, because every product, doesn't matter if it's a startup or a corporate, needs some kind of a self-sustaining business model. So you need to know how to finance the party. You need to know how to bring things to life. You need to know how to build the organization around it. And this is all part of block number 3 and also block number 4. What we're not looking so much into is actually how to scale products to large scale organizations, because this is not possible in this short amount of time, but we certainly give you some marketing tips, we give you sales strategies, we give you an overview on how to build great customer service. So everything that touches a little bit like this growth phase here, but at the same time, we're not going into depth here, because this is so specific per product. There's so many factors that are going into this decisions that you need to take here on how to grow your business. So we're tapping into that. But we will leave this for you to figure out after the 16 weeks, if you manage to get here in the 16 weeks. Some teams do, some teams don't. So, and this doesn't matter if you don't get it there, because the fun part is the process. So there's probably something else that we should mention here. So also when it comes to grading and all these kind of things, so we're not grading that you build the next Facebook, that you're building the next Google or whatever large scale product organization. We're grading your progress. So we are here for you to work with you through this whole product life cycle and support you individually on what your challenge is right now. And you will certainly see some student teams that will be in the first module so much ahead of you, and you're saying like, oh, I need to catch up. No worries, that's totally normal. And then you see other student teams in the last block that are still more or less at the beginning. That's also totally fine, because we want to work on this hands-on, and we want to make this as practical orientated as possible. So you need to go through this process, and you need to enjoy this process. But this is not a race, but this is a marathon, right? So you need to be persistent and go through that. Rosario, would you agree?
Totally agree. It's a race of resistance, not speed.
Fantastic. Yeah, true.
Yeah, totally. And one thing that I would like to add to that is that rely on your team. That's very important. For me, it was eye-opening. The teacher will divide you in teams, and try to work in teams always, because you will always learn from other people and from their own experience, and maybe what you didn't understand in the webinars, they did, and they can explain it to you, and all together you can apply the model or the canvas or the exercise that you gotta do, and the result is a lot more better.
Yeah, True, so true. And to add up on that, if you decide not to work in a team, and we highly encourage students not to do that because otherwise the workload is so much and you don't get the whole experience, you can certainly do that. But as Rosario is mentioning, in a team, it's much more fun and much more efficient, also much easier. Fantastic. So this is basically part one, and this is also like if you want to think a little bit further about this, this is the chart that's probably the most important to understand, that you need to go through these phases of finding your product. But this course is not only about finding a product, but it's also about how to manage a product. So this is basically part two. This is much more operational. So we start with discovery, and now it's about management. And this is like many things of looking at products, again, holistically, but from different perspectives. So understanding how to actually bring together your user with your business models, technologies that you're having. Because probably a great business model would be to introduce teleportation as a mobility service, but we don't have this technology for that. So it's not possible to do that. And the same thing applies to different kind of domains. I just had a company that I was working with in the last weeks. They were working on a new bike, which was pretty cool. But their user group or their target group or the market, however you want to call that, were young people, and the bike was so unbelievably expensive that nobody of their target group, even though they loved the product, couldn't afford it. So that was great. They had a great product and they had the right market, but they had no business model because nobody could finance that. So these kind of things also are part of the management part. So like looking at it holistically, and basically what it is this picture here. So this is a sneak peek into the course now again. And I think this is one of the most important slides when it comes to managing a product, is exactly to that, to understand that your product not only needs to match your market or your customers or your desired people that actually have the problem, but also need a business model. What that is, we will discover in the course. This includes also how to do logistics. This includes how to do development. This includes how to do shipping. This is also about legal questions. This is about all these kind of things that most people forget in the beginning, that make product management much more complex than it looks in the beginning. Because as a product manager, you are, sometimes it's referred to that like the mini CEO of a company, because you need to look into everything. And you need to manage your channels. You need to think about how do you reach your customers, right? So are you relying on a purely digital strategy there? So just doing like social media stuff and so on, or do you need a shop in the high street? Do you need anything related to product management servers, to refunding customers? How do you actually do payments? These kind of things. And a lot of product managers often think that this is not part of their job, but it actually is, because that's where you create the value. If the product is just the product, the value is everything. It's the so-called augmented product world. So, and this includes everything from the parcel that you're sending to the payment that you're offering to your customer service. And sometimes your decision there is to have actually no customer service. And these are the things that you need to manage. And this is the fun part when it comes to the whole management part. But then again, when you look into that, what's also important is how do you actually manage your whole team? And this is also part of your organizational strength. So Rosario were mentioning Agile and Scrum and all these kind of things. Yeah, you can do that, but there are also different ways of doing that. And there are also things like, how do you create the vision for your team? How do you engage your team? How do you structure your team? What software are you going to use? Are you using software at all? Are you in need for a large IT infrastructure, whatever? So like all these kind of things. And now it sounds much now for 16 weeks. And yes, it's much for 16 weeks, but we'll talk about all these things in as much detail as possible to give you the best overview of looking into that. Which then leads me to the third part, and this is actually creating value. So we're coming back to where we started. I have no idea why I've chosen this picture for the background, but I just liked it. And I don't know why, but I see value in that. And this is the thing that I want to talk about now is the perceived value, the perception of value from an individual. And just again, creating value is not the product or service. So we equal product and service here, because a product is like our Van Gogh self-portrait. It's a canvas with paint on it, but people are still paying millions of dollars for these kinds of pictures. And the reason for that is there's something more behind that, something that we discover when it comes to value. And value is basically this: a user has some benefit of a product. This is the green bubble here. So it basically says like, hey, this is the value that I'm offering for the product. That's what I like. And when I want to have this, there are some costs involved. And when we're talking about perceived costs, we're not just necessarily talking about euros or dollars or monetary costs, but there's also costs like time that you need to spend, or effort that you need to put into to get the value out of that, right? So just think about a fitness device or a fitness gym that has a value proposition of getting you back in shape or getting you healthy, whatever it is. Then there's not just your membership costs that are involved that decrease the perceived value in the end, but also things like I have to go there, I need to dedicate time for that, I need to buy clothes for that, like all these kind of things. So there's much more around it than just like the payment of the product. And these are the things that you can play with, that you can work with, and that you can actually design for your users, for your customers. And this is an exciting topic to work with, because there you get into like this intersection of working really strategically, working really at the front line with your customers, and at the same time deciding what are you spending money on in development of your product. And there's so much to discover, because you can always increase either the benefits or decrease the costs to increase the perceived value. And in this simple equation, you find so much truth of what makes good product management is exactly that: to manage the value proposition for your customer by taking into account the benefits that you're delivering, so your value proposition, and taking into consideration the cost, so what the user has to put in to get this benefit, which then ultimately creates the realistic perceived user value of your product. And this is quite often really off from what you define in the beginning. And one thing, and this is the last thing that I want to say here, and that's why I think the role of the product manager is so important, especially in digital business models, is this number here, and it's 900%. And the number 900% here is actually the value that you need to create to make a user switch. And this is a research done by John Gerville at the Harvard Business School. It's actually from 2003 on the behavior of consumers, why they don't buy. And what they figured out is that when you want a user or customer to buy your product, you need to be 900% better than the current alternative or existing solution that the user is currently having. And even if you don't have any competition in the markets, meaning you're basically in an area where nobody else is, that means that you need to be 900% better than nothing in the market. So that makes the user buy your product. And this is really, really important. And getting there is really hard. And with that, I want to leave it to a Q&A session, so you can ask everything that you want. It was just like a really simple sneak peek into, first of all, what product management is all about, how we are tackling it in the course, and also to give you an overview of the topics that we are going to address during this whole program. And with that, I am open to answer all the questions that you're having. I think also Rosario's more than happy to jump in if you have any more student-related question, even though her business is running really well at the moment. So that's wonderful to see as well. Yeah, so let's go with the questions.
Thank you so much, Robin. That was really, really insightful. I actually have a question. Am I permitted to ask it?
Yeah, sure, absolutely.
Awesome, awesome. So for the user perceived benefit, costs, and value, as a product manager or as a person aiming to be that, how do you determine these values? Is it through surveys? Is it through research? Am I going too much into the program? Just out of curiosity.
Well, there's so many weapons out there that you can use to tackle that. But yeah, so you mentioned like the obvious ones, like surveys, like observations. But you quite often do also like psychological experiments. We're talking about this also in the course, where you say like, I design something in a way that I see what's the user behavior, and based on the user behavior, I can validate this. So for example, there are like these things that's quite often used in terms of value validation, when you like offer free trials and then just like see how quickly you can convert a user into a buying customer, for example, or if they jump off immediately. So there's like this whole psychology of that if someone signs up for a free trial and doesn't convert within the first couple of minutes or hours while using the product, the likelihood of the people converting to customers is likely zero. And with that, you can also like validate the value or the perceived value of the people, right? Because then sometimes it's just like, probably in this case, you're too expensive, or probably the service not good enough. So there's a lot of variety on that, and it's certainly quite difficult to always determine what's the, like in a number, right? To say like the benefit is 100 and the cost is 80, so it's 20, right? So this is quite difficult. But it also is a lot about gut feeling. So I think product managers are also good people managers, or people that understand people in general. So I think that's certainly quite often the right answer. But we will look a lot into that, into the course, also when it makes sense to set up data pools, when it doesn't make sense to set up data pools, when to work with assumptions, when to work with hypotheses, how to validate hypotheses, when to validate your assumptions, or when you just say like, this is not worth it, the effort to validate, we just accept it like it is, because perfect is not existing. So
interesting. So interesting. Thank you. Guys, any questions for us today? For Rosario about her experience, or for Robin about the program content, or what was explained for us today? A couple of minutes to see if we have any questions, either in the chat area or in the Q&A section of the presentation, or even just speak up. We'd love to hear from you.
One thing I would like to tell all the students is that don't be scared asking questions. I've asked the most silly questions that I could ever imagine, and they helped me a lot.
Absolutely.
No silly question.
I was waiting for that.
That answer. There are no silly questions, so don't be scared.
Only stupid answers, right?
All right then. I guess our participants have had their insights on the program and the experience of our alumni. Thank you so much for making the time, Robin and Rosario, and we hope to see you again. All right.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Take care.
I think we're starting on Monday, right? So if anybody is
absolutely
exciting to start on Monday,
good luck.
Talk to us. Let's get you started with your new entrepreneurial journey, I would say.
Yeah, fantastic.
All right.
Highly recommend it.
Thank you so much. Have a great evening, and we'll talk soon. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you.